former Governor John Lynch to come up and help us honor Senator Lou D'Alessandro with the Rayburn Public Service Award. Governor Lynch.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. It's great to be here at Plymouth State University. President Burks, thank you for all that you do and the great contribution that you have made and will continue to make to Plymouth State University. And Alex Ray, it's always wonderful to see you. I do have an Alex Ray story, if I could. It's a true story, and I'd like to say that it's off the record. Now, as governor, I learned that when I say it's off the record, I get everybody's attention, particularly the media, knowing that will be a front page story. So, Alex Ray and I were at the Tilton Diner with a whole bunch of other people, awaiting the arrival of then Vice President Joe Biden. So we're all talking inside, and it was planned that Alex and I would go outside and greet the Vice President as he showed up in his caravan. So, his advanced people come up to Alex and me and say, okay, the Vice President is almost here, so you need to go outside. So we go outside, stand outside the diner, and Vice President Biden gets out of his car, walks right up to Alex Ray and says, Governor, it's great to see you. I said, Joe, I'm the governor. He said, no, you're not. It's Alex Ray. He sort of is the kind of governor. Well, I had the great pleasure of sitting next to Ray Burton for 8 years during the Executive Council meetings. So he sat immediately to my right. So I calculate we had about 100 meetings and 1,000 hours when we spent time together. Now, Mike Hines asked me to retell a story about Ray Burton that I have told previously. In his last year, and as you know, the Executive Council, we vote all the time, multiple times, on various items that come before us, whether they're nominations or whether they're budgetary items. So in his last year, we were voting on one item, and Ray Burton said, I'll make a motion to pass that. I said, okay, Councilor Burton has made the motion. And Ray Burton says, and I'll second that motion. I said, Councilor Burton, you can't second your own motion. And he said, oh, yes, I can. I've been here long enough. So somewhere in the archives, there are minutes of Ray Burton seconding his own motion, which is probably the only thing in New Hampshire history that exists. And Alex said he was nonpartisan, which is true, except about the North Country. He was very partisan about the North Country. He would come into my office, and every time he came into my office, he took me to the window facing north. And he said, Governor, every day I want you to look out that window and look to the north, because that's where the important people are, obviously his constituents. He worked tirelessly for his constituents, as you know. As was mentioned, he was in multiple parades. On July 4th, he was in 6 parades. I don't know how he did it, but he managed to do that. Even when he had no opposition, which happened frequently, he would always say, I'm going to run like I'm one vote behind. And that's what really was a hallmark of him. So Alex Wright is right. I mean, there will not be another Ray Burton. But the person who I think comes closest to Ray Burton is Senator Lou D'Alessandro. He reflects all that is good about public service, similar to what Ray Burton did. Now, currently, Senator D'Alessandro is in his 12th term in the New Hampshire State Senate. 12th term in the New Hampshire State Senate. And before that, he was in the Executive Council, and he was a state rep. So I mentioned he devoted his entire life to public service, which is quite amazing. And why does he do it? He does it because he wants to make a difference in the lives of the people of Manchester and in the lives of the people of New Hampshire. And I can tell you, Senator D'Alessandro, you really have done that. Made a difference in my life, made a difference in so many people's lives across our state. Senator D'Alessandro, he applied to Plymouth, didn't get accepted. So we went to UNH. So he was on the football team for 3 years, co-captain of the football team. He was on the lacrosse team, on the baseball team. He was the first athletic director and men's basketball coach at Southern New Hampshire University. In fact, Lou has taught or coached over half the people in the state of New Hampshire. And maybe I'm understating that. He and his wife Pat live in Manchester. He has 3 children, 9 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. I mean, how do you keep track of all of them? And they call him Grandpa. He treats his constituents just like they're part of his family. That's the way he treats my kids, like they're part of his family. And it's not only people in Manchester, it's people all over New Hampshire. He cares deeply and has made a major contribution in economic development, job creation, and of course, education. So Senator D'Alessandro tends to conclude every conversation with, "Have a great American Day." Well, it's my pleasure to welcome to the podium a truly great American, Senator Lou D'Alessandro.
Well, with the president of Plymouth State here, maybe I could work in mission. First of all, I'm honored to receive an award that's in honor of a guy who was one of my dearest friends. Ray Burton and I started out together as counselors. Those were not good times. Eldred Thompson was the governor. He was one pain in the ass. Let me tell you that. Categorically. And we suffered through item after item after item. We suffered through the raising of the flag and the lowering of the flag. We had the honor of David Souter go to Washington and represent us for the United States Supreme Court. We had some great days. But the name of the game was "It's Burton for certain." It was always Burton for certain. He was as kind and gentle a human being as one could find. I turned up on the Democratic side of the ledger. Ray was Republican, but that had no bearing in our relationship. The times at Burton's home, when he would get the band together, get the ladies from the church to serve the bean and ham supper, and they would cut that slice of ham so thin that you'd come away obviously hungry, Alex. You were always hungry. Always hungry when you left. But you left with a smile on your face, with a warm spot in your heart. His mother would answer the telephone, God rest her soul. She would take his messages, and she was his answering service. His sisters were there. And it was a great American experience to go to the Burton gathering. Think about him all the time because he was such a great human being, and that's what we're missing today. You know, I spoke on the floor of the Senate today, and I said, what we're missing is moral compass. We've lost our morality. We've got to get that back. We've got to be more like Ray Burton. We've got to care about one another. Work hard for one another. Get things done. The polarization that exists in this country is going to draw this democracy down. And we can't let that happen. I'm here, and I'm honored, obviously, to be here, but my wife is with me. We just celebrated our 60th wedding anniversary. Patricia Morgenstern D'Alessandro and I met as freshmen at the University of New Hampshire. We were married in my senior year. And if there is a compass, if there is a moral compass in my life, it certainly has been the direction that my wife has set. It's not easy being married to a D'Alessandro. She says that all the time. Also here is my nephew, Paul D'Alessandro, a resident of the North Country, lives in Campton on Ellsworth Hill Road. Real credit to this community, does great work for this community. Wonderful young man, very proud of him. I can tell you a million stories about Rayburn, but the greatest was the airport trips. We would leave early in the morning, and we would go to every airport in the state of New Hampshire. Every airport, the gravel strip in Errol, the grass strip up in Colebrook, which we almost crashed one day. And I don't know if Harrison Sargent is still alive. Harrison Sargent was the pilot there for a long time, and he would lead us on our journey. Now think of that, coming into on the western part of the state, making the landing and seeing those wires coming up and just getting under the telephone wires to land at the airport. And as I said, it was a burden for certain. And he was going to do it, we were going to do it, and put it all together, and we made it. So the legacy of Rayburn is he's left something to everybody in this room, a reason to be here. And that reason is to carry on and be very, very positive about your life and be positive about doing something for someone else. I'm going to end by saying this. I've been very lucky in my life. As a young boy, I lived on the third floor of a tenement house in East Boston, Massachusetts. A gentleman on the first floor decided he would smoke in bed, and he burnt the house down. I was on the third floor. In those days, families lived together. My mother, my dad, my brothers, my aunts, my uncles. We were crammed in. And a fireman saved my life. Took me down those 3 flights of stairs and saved my life. So I've said on numerous occasions, there's a reason I'm still alive. I've got to do something positive to make up for these wonderful things that people did for me. So I'm grateful. I'm very, very grateful for that. I'm grateful for John Lynch coming. John Lynch and I served together. We had our high points and we had our low points, but I think the one thing that we have always had in common is mutual respect. And I think that's the key. I love his kids. They were terrific and very, very helpful to me. But I leave you all by saying thank you. Thank you for everything you do. And I say to each and every one of you, have a great, great, great American Day. Thank you.